Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching this. My name's Connor from 905 Review, and today we're on episode 3 of our series Give This a Spin, where we'll be talking about the often underappreciated Tom Waits album, Closing Time. Now, with this being Tom's first album, it went relatively unnoticed outside of his native Southern California area. Him and his supporting artists would go on tour, however, to promote the album, even opening for bands such as Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, as they were all under the same manager at the time, Herb Cohen. This did, however, leave Tom discontent, unfortunately, as the two artists' crowds were vastly different in personality and had a very opposing reaction to each other. Nevertheless, Tom would go on to have a very successful career and gathering quite the cult following. However, this debut album is often unfortunately lost in the eyes of many people. So with that being said, we'll get started on the track listing, starting off with a song that for the longest time to me was an Eagles song actually, Ol' 55.
Now the sun's coming up, I'm riding with Lady Luck.
So it's a very sweet song about being with the one you love, but unfortunately having to get going because you've got places to be and leaving very early in the morning when there's very few other people out on the road. And it's a nice heartwarming song. You can't go wrong with it.
Just a wishing I'd stay a little longer. Oh Lord, let me tell you that the feeling getting stronger.
So as I said, going into this song, for the longest time I only knew the Eagles version. It was featured on their album On the Border, which came out in 1975, just a year after Closing Time. And Tom wasn't too appreciative of it, to say the least. He's not very fond of the Eagles. He's been quoted as saying they're about as exciting as watching paint dry, and that their albums are just good for keeping dust off your turntable. So, following the end of this, we continue right into the second track, I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love With You. It's a nice ballad about just sometimes not wanting to get into a relationship in the first place, knowing all the hard feelings and emotions and issues that will come from it, especially when you find yourself falling for someone that you don't even think necessarily a relationship with would work out in the first place.
I had a beer and now I hear you calling out for me.
So it's a nice tale, but the story begrudgingly ends with Tom realizing that the girl he just met, who he thinks he's getting feelings for, is no longer anywhere to be seen at the place where they are. Next up, we have the very cool and loungy Virginia Avenue. Recently, this has started to become one of the best songs on this album, in my opinion.
Well, walking on down Virginia Avenue.
It's perfect music for just shuffling your feet as you walk down an empty downtown street late at night, just sneering at the cold, kicking some helpless can around, smoking just with your hands deep in your pockets, much like I picture Tom doing when this song comes on.
What's a poor boy to do? I just get on back into my short.
Following this, we have the track Old Shoes and Picture Postcards. Now, similar to the opening track, Ol' 55, it is about a departure between two lovers, only this time they don't seem so set on a reunion between the two of them. It's kind of an end of their time together.
This time it was sung, I've been putting it off for a while, but it's heart.
I mean, it's awfully happy sounding, to be honest, for a goodbye like this. Unless that's just the pure melancholy sound to it. I'm just lost in. Or maybe, it wasn't such good times after all. And Tom's like, you know what? Adios. I'm out. Next up, we have Midnight Lullaby with more smooth jazz for your soul. It's a very classy sounding song. Some of them might be nice to slow dance to. But it's also got that Tom Waits charm to it. It makes it sound a little shady even, like you'd be hearing this in some smoky bar somewhere.
Stare out at the moon upon the windowsill and dream.
So going into this album, Tom Waits wanted to be mostly jazz oriented. However, his producer wanted him to go for more of kind of a folk feel, which is why you kind of have an amalgamation of the two across this. Now, songs like this are just a great example of why Tom was going for that jazz sound. It's just so smooth and comes off so nicely, and you can really tell this is what he was set on in songs like this. Closing off the first side, we have the heartbreakingly sweet track Martha, about two older people finally reconnecting with each other and reflecting on a relationship they had long in the past. Very cute song.
Poetry and prose and Martha, all I had was you and all you had was me.
Starting off the second side of the album, we have the very bittersweet song Rosie. It fills me with feelings of longing, like there's someone that I really want to be with, but just have no means or opportunity to do so.
Nobody's up except the moon and me.
In this song, we're gifted with Tom staying up late, thinking about this girl, as in the chorus he howls her name. Next up, we have the track Lonely. It is one of my personal favorites from the album, sounding very empty as a track called Lonely should.
Lonely, lonely, lonely eyes.
So as much as I like this song, I could easily see why someone else might not. As empty as it is, it's also very repetitive. There's only a total of 86 words in the song, and the word lonely is said 30 times alone. So, like I said, very understandable why somebody might not. Just something about Tom's voice, his delivery on it, his piano playing. Just for me personally, it's a track I really enjoy. When I hear it, I just picture him playing in a massive, dark, empty room with just a single light shining down on him. Not too much unlike the cover of the album. After this, we have the track Ice Cream Man. It sticks out way more than any other on the album with how unbelievably upbeat it is compared to the rest. So to say the least, it's a very sleazy sounding song. There's numerous metaphors in it that don't really need explaining. Following this, we have Little Trip to Heaven on the Wings of Your Love. It's another loungy song, but a beautiful one at that. It's a flawlessly romantic track, and it has Tom at his most charming. A complete 180 from what we just heard on Ice Cream Man.
Feel like I'm in heaven when you're with me. Know that I'm in heaven when you smile.
After this, we have Grapefruit Moon, another soothing song that gives me feelings of longing. The strings on this are a fantastic compliment to Tom's piano playing.
Every time I hear that melody, something breaks inside.
So it is a very beautiful song, and one that you could say Tom owes his career to. Supposedly a performance he did of it as a youngster blew David Geffen away, who happened to be in the crowd, and it got Tom signed to Geffen's first record, Asylum Records. Next up, the best song on the album, the closer to Closing Time, the title track Closing Time. It's an instrumental piece, as there's nothing left to be said on this thing. It's the sad tune we're given for 4 minutes and change of reflection on the good, the bad, and all the in-between in terms of feelings we've just gone through. This one just hits me right in the heart, simply put. Take all the feelings of longing you already had from the rest of the album, combine them, and then double that, and that's this song alone. It just gets me every time. With that being said, let's talk about this smooth jazz folk hybrid we just went through. It's Tom Waits at his most innocent. He hadn't yet developed the sound or style that he's now mostly famous for. You know, the bizarre, raspy sound he has to both his voice and his music itself.
In the Coliseum, in the Coliseum, in the Coliseum tonight.
There's lots of feelings of, as I said, longing on this thing. A lot of the time it has me reflecting on the past or just specific past events, with feelings almost of regret and wondering what you could have done differently, how things could have changed. So all things considered, the 1974 release of Closing Time, we're going to stamp this with an A grading. It is one of my absolute favorite albums, my favorite from Tom Waits actually, even though he hadn't developed his sound or style too much, as he would go on to in the following decade. But he put together such a solid album here, a solid debut no less. And this album probably perfectly captivates the feeling of the cover of it, maybe better than any other. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. This has been our review of Closing Time, and we'll see you next time. Before we head out, let me know your thoughts on Closing Time. Did I rate it too high or did I rate it too low? Let me know down below, and feel free to let me know what other albums you might want to hear my thoughts on. Be sure to look forward to more reviews in the future. Take it easy.